I have got a heap of onions to get planted today. Our onion plants from Dixondale Farms just came in the mail, and so it's time to get busy. It's a nice 70-degree day here in South Georgia. The week before Thanksgiving, so really nice weather to get outside and get in the garden and plant some onions. If this is your first time on our channel, welcome. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell button down below so you get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you're a frequent viewer of our channel, it's always good to have you back. But before we plant these onions, let's take a look at how our other alliums in this big allium plot are doing so far. So our first row here is these Savannah sweet onions that we grew in our seed starting trays. And the whole planting onions in October experiment seems to be working pretty well. These guys are doing really well, and they'll probably be maturing a month or so faster than some of these other ones we're planting. So it'd be nice to have some early onions next spring. The wheat straw experiment here, I'm glad I just did this on one row. I'm not a big fan of this. The cats just get in there and strow it everywhere, and those wheat seeds are starting to sprout. So just an experiment to do that on one row. I'll stick with my wheel hoe and my single tine cultivator on the rest of this plot for keeping the weeds under control. And then we've got our Mateko leeks here, which are looking really good. Those are coming along nicely. And then over here we've got 4 rows of shallots. Now these Roderick and these Monique shallots came up first, and those rows are almost completely full. Almost all of those have come up so far. And then the Ambition shallots are a little behind those, but some of them are starting to come up nicely. So shallots are doing good. And then we walk over here and take a look at our elephant garlic. We planted 2 rows about a week or 2 before we planted this 3rd row. But those first 2 rows, plants are looking good, coming up. Looks like almost every one of them has sprouted on those 2 rows. And then this 3rd row here, they're just starting to come out of the ground. We can see a little one right there. So elephant garlic looking good so far. Been in there with the wheel hoe and the single tine, try to keep the weed pressure down. Then we've got some more onions that we grew in the greenhouse. I need to put a label right here, but this is a variety called Sweet Harvest. And then we've got some Texas Legends here, which we'll be planting more of today. Those are doing good. And then some more leeks right here. This is a variety called Tadorna. So different from that Mateko leek we grew or are growing over there on the other side. And these guys are doing well too. I planted these a little deeper than I did that first round of leeks, and probably still throw a little more dirt to them. And then today we're going to be planting some of these guys here. So these are our onion plants that just got here from Dixondale. We've got 4 different varieties. We've got a Texas Legend, we've got a 1015 Texas Super Sweet, we've got this Texas Early White, and we've got the old Red Creole. Now we've been growing the Red Creole and the Legend for many years, and it does really well, or they do really well for us. First year growing this 1015 Super Sweet that's been highly recommended. And I wanted to try some of these white onions. I've never really grown any white onions, so I figured I'd give that a try this year as well. I've got 7 rows laid off here with drip tape already buried, where I'm going to plant these onion plants from Dixondale. Got those rows 2 feet apart, just like we did with all those alliums I showed you earlier. So we've got that drip tape buried. I've actually got it turned on. We can get that soil moistened up a little bit there. And we've got our little mini furrows there on each side of that buried tape, where we can plant our double rows of these Dixondale Farms onions. So to start off, I'm going to plant me a row of these Texas Early White onions here. And I like to use these little mini tub trucks we sell to hold my onion plants as I scoot down the row. Makes it really easy, so you don't have to try to hold this bundle, and I can take them and unwrap them there and just have them all in here, so I can grab a plant real easy and scoot down the row here. And we're going to put these onion plants about 4 inches apart, 4 to 6 inches, because we'll come in here when these things start bulbing and we'll thin out every other one. We'll harvest half of them as green onions and we'll leave the rest of them to get big softball size onions. Now, I've grown onions from transplants in the seed trays before, like we did on the other part of this plot, and I've grown these Dixondale onions many times, but I've never grown them side by side to kind of see the differences between if we grow them in our seed starting trays versus growing these onion plants that Dixondale grows. So in the seed starting trays, we have 1 onion per cell. The way they grow these things is a lot like we grow carrots. They plant them in a big wide band in the field, and when they get to a certain size, they go through and dig them up and harvest them and bunch them up. They also cut the tops off of them. I guess that's for shipping purposes. I'm not sure really why the tops get cut off of them. I assume it's because they fit in the box better. But anyway, this year it's going to be really interesting to see if the ones we grew ourselves grow out faster or these grow out faster, which ones kind of take off quicker. I would presume that the ones we grow in the seed starting trays take off a little faster just because they're going straight from soil to soil, whereas these guys have been out of soil for a little while. So these shipped on Monday. It's now Thursday. I assume they dug them Monday or just a day or two before they shipped them. So these guys are a little more dried out than the ones that we would plant from the seed starting trays. So you would think that the other ones would take off a little faster, but you'd be surprised these here don't take long at all to start growing either. As far as watering goes, when we plant these guys, the ones I grew out in the seed trays, I let the water run on the drip for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours or so, because those were already still kind of wet. The soil was still wet that they were sitting in. Since these guys have been out of soil for a little while, when I plant these Dixondale onions, I'll let the drip run all night to get that bed nice and soaked so these roots can get some moisture back in them and these onion starts can start growing again. Now, Tiger, you've been laid up at the house all this time while I've been out here working hard planting them onions. And now you want to come out here and see what's going on when the job's done. I see how it is. See if I get you any more soft cat food. You're going to have to earn your keep around here. Well, it looks like it's going to get dark on me before I'm able to finish planting all these onions today. But I got 5 out of 7 rows, and that's about all one fella wants to do in one afternoon. My knees is about to give out. But I made some good progress. For my best estimation, there's about 80 to 90 onion plants in each one of these bundles. It took me about 2 bundles to do a 40-foot double row. So about 80 to 90 plants. And Dixondale's plants always look good, but this year they look especially good. Some really, really nice looking onion plants. So there they are. That's the progress I made this afternoon. We've got 1 row of the Texas Early White, a row of the Red Creole. We did 2 rows of that 1015 Super Sweet, and then we're going to do 3 rows of Texas Legend because those are my favorites and they seem to store the longest. So I got 1 row of Texas Legends in, and I got to get 2 more rows planted, and that's just going to have to wait till tomorrow. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I'll let the drip run all night on these plants I just planted. Let that bed get nice and soaked, let those roots be able to get some water, get those leaves back moisturized, and get those plants growing. As far as fertilizing goes, on the rest of the alliums here, I've already hit those with some 20-20-20 a couple times. And because I've got it all on one system there, they'll probably get hit with 20-20 one more time, which won't hurt them. So I'll hit these new plants, just put in the ground with some 20-20-20, give them some phosphorus and potassium for some good root development. And then once they start growing, we'll switch over to ammonium sulfate on the whole plot there. We'll probably side dress first. We might inject some down the line, but we'll probably just side dress with some and then come in there with a wheel hoe, cultivate beside it, kind of cover it up, and that'll give them some nice nitrogen and sulfur so they can maximize their growth in that vegetative phase. So if you live in a short day growing area, now's the time to be getting them onions in the ground. I'll put some links below to Dixondale's website so you can head on over there and get some plants if you want. I'll also put a link below to our onion seeds if you want to grow your own, and I'll put a link to our seed starting supplies that you'll need for that as well. If you enjoyed this video, give us a big like, give us a big thumbs up, and a big share, and we'll see you guys next time.